Well, I'm joined by Yossi Beilin, who's a former Israeli cabinet minister who took part in negotiations that led to the Oslo Accords. He joins us live from Tel Aviv. A very warm welcome to you. So as you probably heard from our correspondent in Lebanon there, the feeling is, at least in Beirut, that this is a somewhat contained conflict in the south of the country. But are we sleepwalking towards something more full-blown between Israel and Hezbollah?
Well, I hope very much that this will not be the case. It doesn't have to be. We understand that Hezbollah is doing something which is not exactly fitting the needs of the people of Lebanon and the government of Lebanon. I think that there is a gap between Hezbollah's interests and the civilian interests of Lebanon. And if we can work in order to put an end to this exchange of fire. And I heard today that there is an American-French initiative to find a solution for the current situation. I think that this is what both sides need more than anything else. To have again a war between us and them. It may happen. I hope very much that it will not happen. There is no need for that. And it is always civilians on both sides which are becoming refugees, which are killed, which are wounded. If every side is, of course, blaming the other side, and there is no end to it.
There is, of course, irrespective of what may or may not happen, whether or not this may spiral or not, very much the need for a new security arrangement between Israel and Hezbollah. How might that work behind the scenes as somebody who was heavily involved in previous negotiations in the past?
Well, the UN Resolution 1701 was a very reasonable one and ended the Second Lebanon War, but eventually was not respected by Hezbollah. Now, the question is whether we can renew the efforts towards something which will resemble it very much. And there is also another point that Lebanon is saying that there are differences about the border between the two states. And I think that the current government of Israel is ready to talk about the border too. So if there is a solution for the border, there is no need for a war. I mean, who can tell me why should we fight Lebanon of all places? Why should they fight us of all places?
So you're suggesting that there are very much lessons to be drawn from history, from that 1982 Lebanon war?
Yeah, I mean, the war in Lebanon, in my view, was totally unneeded. I was one of those who did whatever we could in order to assure that Israel withdraws from South Lebanon, and that happened on May the 24th, 2000. I think that it was a very important decision. I don't think that we should get back to Lebanon. We don't need it. The Lebanese don't need it, of course. And that we can live in peace between the two countries. I remember that for years, especially when I was a very young man, when people asked who would be the first Arab countries making peace with Israel, it was almost obvious that it would be Lebanon, and that regretfully never happened.
Of course, the worst-case scenario, at least for Israel, is that if indeed this does escalate, it could be potentially fighting two conflicts on two fronts. What would that mean for Israel?
First of all, I hope very much that the war in Gaza will end soon. I think that we exhausted it, and that we weakened Hamas. We did not catch all its leaders. You never have exactly what you planned to have to do, but after 8 months and so many people who were killed in this war, enough is enough. So I hope that there will be no front war, and that there will be no front at all, because the war with Lebanon is very artificial. Because what happened is that the crazy attack on the south of Israel on October the 9th was followed by an Israeli attacks on Gaza on Hamas. And Lebanon said, yes, because we identify with Hamas, we will attack Israel too and bombard Israel. But there is no conflict now between Israel and Lebanon, or even not Israel and Hezbollah. So here I believe that there is really, I mean, if we were now begin a war and we have two fronts or one front, I believe that it is totally, totally, totally unneeded.
Yossi Beilin, it's been a pleasure to have you on Al Jazeera. Many thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.